#1 Iron Age booty daddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. What's going on, everybody? Sir, you're holding up things and stuff and whatnots.
Thought I'd be funny with it.
No, that works. And it's like, have you been here before?
Well, I literally just got my package of goodies from B.A. Turner for Vigilantes Creed, so I thought I'd show off one of the pictures.
Yes, I've got to figure out where my wife put all that. My wife puts things in places that I don't. Wait, never mind. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, shit, phrasing. Oh my good Lord. All right, well, I have recovered from last night. So
are you sure about that?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't get there on stream, but like after the stream, I was just like, whoa. Yeah, so yeah, that was fun. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Iron Age Nights. We have an absolutely awesome guest this week. A guest that many of you know. It's still up in the air whether he's a stream otter, a river otter, some sort of mythical otter. We don't actually know. We might find out the origins tonight, though.
He's a fine, dapper, gentle otter.
I don't know. I mean, see, that's what a mystical otter would say. So, like, yeah. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a good night. And for those of you who are brand new to the channel, because I've gotten a lot of subscribers in the last week or two, for those of you who are new to the channel, this is the show where we bring you a new author, comic book creator, tabletop RPG creator, movie director, game designer. We've had a bunch of people on here doing a bunch of creative projects, and our goal is to bring them to you, and hopefully you guys like them and enjoy them, and you get to find your new favorite project. So, without any further ado, let's say hello to the chat. Let's say hello to the
chat.
Hello, chat. Over on Rumble, we got Frequency Studios. What's going on, man? Garham is over there. We got Sword Rush. What's up, dude? Chatsu. Hello. He just wanted to drop by to say hi and buy Otter's book. Yes. Buy my book seems to be a thing. So yes.
Isn't that Hedge's war cry?
That is Hedge's war cry. He's gonna go
I'm sensing
battle.
a recurring
buy my
theme
book as he's cutting down the foes. We got Skunk's Workshop over there on Rumble as well, man, dropping some chats as a member over on the Rumble. That's right, you guys can become members of the channel over there as well if Rumble is more your style. So head on over there, join with those guys. Those guys get a little rowdy over in the Rumble chat, I'm not gonna lie. They say things on that over there I can't say here. Animation Overload just joined over on Rumble too. Better catch him. Devil's Air, what's going on, man? I don't know if he's awake. He might be asleep, but he did leave this a little earlier. RH Snow, hello. How are you doing? That lady coming in with her love and passion for all of us. Thank you so much. RH Snow. Redoubt Productions, what's going on? We got Pritchard Pub down there as well. Some fantastic channels you guys got to check out. AS Bruner, what up? Tim Allen, hello. Yeah, drinking mead. Get you the mead master of the Iron Age. Yes. Horizon Talker, what's going on? Garham, he's double dipping. Swift Sword Rush, also double dipping. Wrangler, also double. You fucking Chicago voting mother. Whatever. It makes my channels look better. And that's why they do it in Chicago. Anyway, Bat Sauce, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Oxen W, it's awesome to have you guys down there. AC Pritchard, Evely Music, what up? 10 Cage, the Ultimate Kahuna, how are you guys doing? The Ultimate Kahuna comes in with a $5 super chat off the bat. And he says, I'm here to woo and read the Bible. And I left my Bible at home, so woo! I can't woo like he does. I don't know. Like, I can't do that. Anyway, very excited for the stream. Y'all are awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude. Timo Burnham. I can't say it.
Timo.
Yeah, everybody says Timo. I can't. I don't know. Something's wrong with my brain. You're like, yeah. What else is new? Timo Burnham, what's going on for $5? Says, yo, this one's for Otter. Everyone go buy his book. It is Timo approved. There you go. It's been approved by a lot of people, actually. I have not seen a bunch of criticism in what I've seen people talking about it. However, we'll find out tonight. Over on Rumble, Lieutenant Bob just showed up, but his real form is over on YouTube. It's King Bob.
King Bob.
I love that. I will watch that entire stupid ass movie for that one line. That, like, do you guys have those movies? Like, the rest of the movie, you're just like, it's mediocre or at like slightly tolerable, but there's one line in the movie you're just like, this is great. Do you guys have movies like that? I'm sure everybody does. So I got
maybe. I don't know.
Potentially.
I have a couple of them. Yeah. Just you guys are. I don't even know how to talk to you people right now. Anthony Roncanelli, what's going on? Brian McCoppin, hello. It's good to see you, man. Oh, good Lord. We're going to see how well the energy levels hold out tonight. Guilty Gearhead, man. What up? TJ Marquis, howdy, man. What's going on? Another past guest of this show. And I believe I have caught up with everyone. And if I have not said hello to you in the chat, shame me. I mean, you're going to shame me anyway, so I might as well give you a reason.
It's true.
It's true. Yeah, I'm going to get shamed regardless. So I might as well be like, yeah, this is the reason that they're shaming me. And so, yeah. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is time to introduce my fantastic co-hosts. I have nothing snarky to say this week. Richard, how has your week been, man?
Busy. It's been a busy week trying to get everything out the door from the Black Friday little swag pack sale and everything else. And so that's been good, but it's there's things you just never would have expected. It's like, thermal printer problems, and you're like, this is what my life is now, just like these little things sometimes. And but overall, very good week. Hopefully have some exciting stuff coming up. Submissions closed for issue number 4 of Anvil yesterday. Thankfully that's closed, because I don't like it's just shy of 1 million words that are under consideration. So I'm my God. Yeah, it's a lot. And there's a lot of submissions to sort through. So that's going to be a bit of time, but issue number 3 is coming together super nicely. I still need to finalize a few things, a few pieces of art for that. And then, man, that's going to be done and done and dusted, which is what I'm looking forward to. And the same thing for First Strike over with Tempered Records. That is coming together, and I think hopefully that'll be wrapped up this weekend. It's gonna be a good one. So
there you go, man.
Who knows? Maybe I'll even get my Christmas tree up. There are miracles. Miracles may happen.
Yeah. I told the wife and kids, I was like, yeah, Christmas tree's not happening until days before Christmas. And they're like, oh, why? I'm like, We have a German Shepherd puppy that chases every cat in this house.
Yeah.
I am not. Yeah. Do you have a German Shepherd puppy that chases every cat in your house?
No, I also left my Christmas tree up for like a month now.
That's Lord Otter, how you doing? It's
Called forethought. Thank you.
Forethought. No, it's not.
Well, I can't really say I have a German Shepherd puppy running around the house. That's my job.
There you go.
But I've been doing well. It's kind of been a stressful week, but I've been happy. Just kind of reading through some good books. A few of us are reading through the Hunger Games right now.
Ooh.
All the while I'm getting things prepped up for next couple of projects that I'm really hoping to get geared up for here in the next month or so.
Awesome. Well, before we get into the interview, I guess I will say hello to Daniel and introduce him this week. I was going to skip him because
I know.
Had a Christmas tree.
He's got something to show. We gotta give him the.
He does. It's weird,
Yeah.
dude. Like, I remember the first time, he didn't want to shill, and then he'd have to be really hammered to shill, and now it's like almost normal for him to shill. I don't know who this new Daniel is.
It's almost like practice makes perfect.
Yeah, I don't know what gay shit you're talking about. But anyway, how you been this week?
Busy, but doing great.
Sorry, I'm still spicy from yesterday.
To be expected.
Yes. Oh man.
It's all good. We're all caught up on everything. The only thing I have left to do is finalize the physical printing of the special edition number ones for the campaign that started last week on Fund My Comic, and distribution after that, which I have to reach out to RJ.
Who be RJ?
Critical Blast.
Oh,
Mhm.
hey, yeah, I've heard of that guy.
Yeah, very great guy. Very, very helpful.
I have not touched base with him yet. I think we.
I happen to be part of Nerd Trivia on Aaron's Immortal Rising show 2 weeks ago.
I have still not checked that out yet. I've been meaning to, and I have failed just horribly, like absolutely horribly.
What a coincidence! I failed horribly at the trivia.
Dude,
Yeah, the three of
whenever
us
I
are
was
not-
whenever I was in the first one, I got one correct, and then everything else I was just like, I guess I'm not that much of a nerd. Like,
dude, it's funny too because you're like, oh, I'm like, my nerd cred's pretty good, and then you start doing trivia, and you're like, holy shit! Like, you're like, wow, I'm a pretend nerd at best. Like,
I had the unfortunate experience of having the answer, and then as soon as my name was said, the answer went.
yeah.
oh, don't you love that?
Yep.
That's I love when my brain does that. Yeah. Michael Bancroft called. I had a moment like that last week, and I was like, "What?" I was like, I couldn't remember Jared Crispin's name. Like, it just would not populate in my brain, and I was like, "He's doing the movie, and it's the thing," and I was like, "Christian, no, come on!" I was like, "Brain," and Bancroft is like, "Stream brain." I get it, and I'm like, "Yes."
Jared Christ man.
His Royce.exe cannot be found. So, all right. And I am so glad that I used the time for the introductions to do something that I should have done like 4 days ago, because it would have really saved me from this. But okay, the Lord Otter's links are now down in the description of the stream, everybody. They weren't there before, but they're there now, so you can't prove it. You can't prove it.
Yeah, they were always there.
Daniel, mic down, or Royce, mic up. I can mic up. I can mic up a lot easier, so let me just mic up real quick. I figured out why the music was crappy last night in the intros. I know why. Tell me when that mic volume is good for you guys. So I just went up another 25. No,
Mike was fine for me. I didn't know.
Yeah. No, the music last night, everybody's like, yeah, the music's cutting in and out. And I was like, And then I looked at my StreamYard settings, and StreamYard reset everything. And it's like, no, we're going to just auto do everything. I'm like, StreamYard, I am not a $25 streamer. I have equipment. Let me do it. And I want to do.
No, you will use their settings.
Yeah,
and you will like it.
No, I do not like it because it just
Failure to comply will result in resetting of your settings so that your music screws up.
I will not comply, you bastards. I will not do it. Frederick Guimont, he's Canadian. Everybody see in the chat, he's Canadian. Shame him as such. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So before we do this, let me make sure I've caught up on everything. Yes, I don't see any more chats. I think I've caught up and said hello to everyone, so that is a good thing. And there are some lurkers there. I see you, lurkers. I see you. YouTube tells me that you're there. So
Lurky lurkertons.
yeah, I'm okay with it. They've got secret love for the show, so I'm good with it. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, I am very, very excited and I'm actually very excited how this worked out. See, there's a lurker right there. I said lurkers and one of them showed I'm sorry, Jamie Harbert. Oh God, I can't speak. Jamie Harbert. Hello. But so this actually worked out really well. We scheduled the month of December. And in our infinite wisdom, forgot who we talked to about possibly having on shows. However, one of our original guests this week was like, "Hey guys, I need to reschedule. There's personal things going on that weekend, and I just can't." We're like, "Yeah, cool." So this week was open, and we're like, "Well," and in our infinite wisdom, we didn't reschedule this week. Probably wouldn't have done it. And then the Lord Otter comes in from a mighty golden ray and is like, "Hey, you said I could be on stream with you. Did you lie to me?" And I was like, "Actually, no, I didn't lie. But thank you for saving my ass, Lord Otter."
He didn't lie. He just forgot. It's fine.
I'm a moron. I keep trying to tell you people I'm an idiot, and some of you believe me.
I planned it out all along.
I planned to hear like it was me the whole time. So, dude, I'm actually really glad that you reached out again because this was something that we had talked about. And again, the very, very forgetful person. And that's why I'm always like, guys, like message me, just like remind me of things because I forget. So you, sir, have a debut novel out, and it is Steel and Stormbright, The Curse of the Star Wraiths. And what I want to go through with you is I want to get to how you get to a point where you think it's important to write this book. So where does all of this start with you?
Oh, and where does all of it start? There's about 5 different ways I could potentially start, but
pick the best one or the worst one. Those seem to be the most entertaining.
Ooh.
The one in the middle takes a very selective audience. It's weird.
Well, here's the thing about Steel and Stormbright in general. Whenever I had started writing the story, it was in a completely different place, a completely different type of story. And just over the product of 2 years of different tastes, different books I was reading, and also just kind of getting a feel for what was there, it kind of just came about in its own right. So it started out more as sort of a Wheel of Time-esque epic fantasy, but over time, it just kind of morphed more into this very tightly packed swords and sorcery story. But even from the beginning, it's always been a tale about brotherhood, about persevering. It's always been about weird fantasy, some high magic elements in there, but it's very much a story about family. And that's how I see it. And also learning how to deal with the harder parts of life, with struggle and pushing through that.
And why that story? Why? There's a lot of stories that people can go with and a lot of different thematic elements that writers can choose from. Why that one? Just time-tested and true, or something that spoke to you?
A little bit of both, I think. It was around that time I was really getting into reading Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, some old school Conan stories. And I've always kind of been a big fan of seinen manga, sort of along the lines of like Berserk or Vinland Saga, Vagabond.
Okay.
And I'd seen a lot of potential, a lot of things done with both separately, but not a whole lot where you kind of blend the two. And I've always seen a lot of potential there. And sort of like with that, with a dash of epic fantasy on the side, and you sort of have this brother dynamic. That was kind of what bound it all together. So it's kind of been the slow process of just seeing all of this balling up over time.
How do you test all that against, like you said, you've seen a lot of these things before and you want to combine it. So it seems like every writer, there's a balancing act there that you have to do, but when you're combining that many themes, it seems like it gets pretty insane.
To a certain degree, it does. And that was kind of the reason why, with the story, I kept telling myself, I want to try and keep this simple, but have it be to where if you want to dig into the inner themes of the story and the world, there is that there, but it's in the background. So that was the kind of the hard limit I set on myself whenever I was writing this, even from the very beginning. I would get into parts of writing out the magic or different character interactions, and I read it and I go, this is way too convoluted. I need to make it a bit easier to follow, but still have that depth there if someone really wants to dig into it. So it's all a balancing act. And honestly, over time, just having other people read it, they even gave me different tips and pointers on how to balance it better. So it's all been about that.
Did the change from a more sprawling epic fantasy to kind of like this reduction down to a smaller sword and sorcery tale, did that happen as you were writing or as you were kind of like laying things out?
So it was a little bit of both, but primarily while I was writing. So whenever I had first come up with a story, always one of my main inspirations for the series has been Fawford and Grey Mouser. I love the buddy cop dynamic that's done there. There's a lot of buddy cop fantasy. And that was always kind of there. It's always been a tale about two brothers, but there was a lot of travel, a lot of sweeping stakes. But just over time, it was really kind of like how they interacted with each other and bringing in more cast members. There was a certain tone I could feel whenever I would read through it time and again. And I went, there's this energy there, but it feels like it needs a bit of a tighter pace to really bring that out. And that's always what I kept feeling, even from the very beginning. There's this dynamic I could feel in the back of my head, and the longer that I wrote and just went over it, the clearer that got over time.
So were you a big fan of the shorter sword and sorcery style before you, or is that kind of a more recent thing? Because I know personally I had not, let's see here, I had read some like older fiction, that some of it classified as the, pulp classics back whenever I was in, I don't know, high school, and I was going through really old paperbacks and things like that I'd found in my grandmother's house and whatnot. But I hadn't really gotten back into them in the past until, I don't know, probably 2 years ago. Is that something that you similarly experienced, or have you always kind of been a fan of that style?
I would have to say I've always been more of a fan of the shorter style of fiction. I think that's kind of why I've always gravitated more towards pulps. Don't get me wrong, I still like epic fantasy. Like, I like the Shannara series. I like reading through Lord of the Rings. And I like certain bits of world building that's within those series, but I also sort of have a shorter attention span, and especially within the age of the internet and everything, having a shorter style story really kind of fits that type of pace a lot more. I think the market is there, whereas before, back in the 90s, phone book fantasy was more of the norm, with like Wheel of Time.
Yeah.
I've noticed that quite a bit is that there are a lot of shorter style, shorter books, novellas, and you know, coming out lately that, and a lot of like anthologies and stuff. So like the short story thing and shorter stories really seem to kind of fit the day and age, you know, for sure. Do you think the longer form is going to come back?
I think there's definitely a place for it. I don't think it's mutually exclusive. But I do think been a big movement back towards shorter style writing, shorter fiction. I think it's beginning to become popular again. But I do want there to be sort of a macro story there. I think that's something that's been established really well over the last few decades, having these sweeping macro stories, but also sort of having like this episodic structure bridging it together. So you get the best of both worlds.
That I like that. I like that. That is, well, and not only that, but you know, getting the episodic stuff in there, you have people going, well, I want to see the next episode. When's it coming out? And that's
the inherent issue with doing things episodic, at least in a written format, because it takes so long to produce. Either you create a bunch ahead of time to pad your schedule out, or your people end up wandering off. I mean, they'll come back, obviously, if they like the story enough, but attention spans nowadays, you either need to, throw the whole season up there at once so they can binge, or suffer the gripes and complaints about posting an episode every week, an episode every month, whatever.
Well, we do live in an on-demand world, though. Like, and that's the thing. I mean, everything is on demand now. Like, and it's. I think that's one thing that's really gonna. I think a lot of authors are gonna have to face is like, the Netflix model. Oh, I just have it when I want it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it's like, so you put out a bunch to binge for a little while, and then. People take a break. The difference is, though, I guess, is that, if you were to do like a binge model in books, like prepare 3 or 4 books, or I don't even know how that works, but you prepare however, in author terms, you prepare as much as you can for like a once a year, like drop for, like a month or 2 months or whatever, so people can binge that. And if you do it well enough, it's not going to be like junk food, right? It's going to be a well-written, well-told thing, and then they wait until the next year when the next, binge comes out. In
theory, Blaine Pardo's got a pretty good release schedule system, but that's because he writes multiple books ahead of time. So he's got a pad, and he can release on a schedule that's a lot more conducive to keeping people's attention.
And
whereas
a beast.
Yeah, he is a beast.
Well, and he's also got like 30 years experience on some of you guys too. So you can't really, you can't knock that at all.
No.
By that time, he's well ironed out the whole writing process for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. And my personal schedule is 3 a year, which is, a 4-month lull between whatever it is that I'm putting out. And it's not necessarily all going to be from one series, but that's sort of the sweet spot of what we're doing. And like from the model of binging, Royal Road existed forever. Amazon tried to do it on a more massive scale with Kindle Vella, and it just never really took off. Some people did get some traction, but it didn't get the attention that they thought it was going to get, because writing is different from television. Television is a visual medium. It requires very little effort on the user's part.
I dissect what I watch quite a bit.
Do you dissect it while you're watching it or after?
Wow. It's what makes it impossible to watch a movie with me.
Fair enough.
My wife, she's just like, shut up. Tell me about it afterwards. I'm like, no, but this is really good now. It's actually why I hate most modern movies. Like something has to be done very, very well, or it's the second that I start to see something, I can't unsee it, and then I just kind of take the Mickey out of it while I'm watching it. So I don't, yeah, that whole no, I just turned my brain off and I just what? No, that's not me. I'm like, huh?
It is a thing for a lot of the younger generations now, though.
Well, that's a depressing topic. Hey, Lord Otter, so you've got a book trailer.
Yeah. I've
Yes,
got a
let's
book
check
trailer.
that out.
Do you like my segues there?
I do.
Okay. I suck at segues. I have to figure them out better. I have to figure them.
I think the Hey Look beer format works well for us.
Hey, look, beer.
Well, if it helps the situation at all, you are talking to a water weasel with a top hat.
In the land of Alcaron, beauty.
It started
And-
playing as soon as I blew it up.
Good autoplay.
And a
there
bow
we go.
tie.
And a bow tie. Yes.
Bow tie.
Oh, when are we going to get the VTuber version?
Yeah, we were actually, yeah. Otter, you need a VTuber avatar.
You know, that's. I'll put that in the plan.
Have you not thought about that yet?
I've thought about it, but not seriously.
It just,
Honestly, I think it would be a lot more fun if it was just that image, but with the ability for the mouth to move.
no, you got to do the full 3D. Full 3D.
I mean,
Otter.
that could also work, I suppose.
It's kind of kitschy. It's cool.
Or what you need to do, it's do like the VTuber thing, but it's just a video of you, and like you'll leave frame, and then you'll come back with some sticks, and then you'll pad out the
Oh, there you go.
the little dam like a beaver or whatever otters do. I don't know how otters be.
I'll be a full-on.
They
otter
float
for
on
them.
their back and make cute little motions with their hands.
Right. Just have you just sitting there floating on your back, just spinning the whole time, and then you talk. Okay.
Are you implying I'm not doing that already?
Well,
Just spinning around?
But we can't see it.
Oh,
Ooh, we could do like the old idle screen thing where you just sort of float in like weird random around the screen, just going around and around and around and down. Yeah, it'd be awesome. Okay, trailer time.
All right.
Before I get too into that,
Yeah. That was yeah. That's all right. Here we
and
go.
this one was made by James Esparza. I really like what he ended up doing with it. Turned out really well.
James does a lot of good work, man.
He does.
In the land of Alcaron, beauty meets malice, and gods share their realm with mortal souls. A paradise of pain and pleasure. A cruel goddess watches over a kingdom that seeks to conquer all.
That's really good. Who'd you get to do the commentary?
I
Playing.
think that was AI. That was something
yeah,
that
it
James had
sounds
done.
AI generated.
That's cool. Everybody gets all mad at AI. It's like, that's cool.
Boo! No, sorry, we'll not go there.
You want my hot take on AI? I'll give you my hot take on AI.
I don't want your hot anything, Royce. Thanks.
Let's see if
I'm suddenly
Christmas
concerned.
dinner. You want
I just
hot
see the
anything?
whole
Well, fine.
AI
You won't get
argument.
shit at the Iron Age barbecue.
I see the whole
No,
AI
you said you
argument,
didn't
both
want my
sides
hot
flogging
anything.
each other. I'm just this guy around at the corner, just smashing clams with a rock.
Oh,
You're
God.
never going to be. You have real job security there. I haven't seen any AIs so far get into the manual fishing job. Although probably there's some robotic dolphin somewhere.
I don't know. So, okay. Wow. That's, guys, we're terrible. We've
Robo Otter.
Robo Otter. Robo Otter. When you release your science fiction book. Anyway. So, getting back into the story. So, you decided to go with the story. You've talked about the themes. You've talked about the elements. What made you want to write the story? Like, you obviously, everybody has that, get off their ass and do it moment. What was that for you?
Well, for me, it was going through kind of like an exceptionally tough part of my life. It was right before I was kind of like moving states. It was just from several different places. Life was getting harder. Living situation wasn't working out. Day job. It was just a little bit of everything, and it was all of that kind of balling up into one, and it felt like it was just me there, no one
Ooh.
else. And it kind of got to a point where this whole project, which I had kind of had in my mind for about a month at that point, I was penning down notes, but at a certain point, it was like this became sort of a reprieve for me, a way for me to escape. And I really think that kind of bled through into the writing a bit, because I would argue more than anything, it's a book about going through hardship and learning how to stand on your own 2 feet. And that's something that speaks to me a lot. And it's something I'm still adamant about right now. Just being able to push forward and learn that it's not just you. There are other people out there who are willing to help you. And that was really the drive that made this story come about. That's kind of like the beating heart and soul of Steel and Stormbright.
Oh,
So,
excuse me.
I was going to say, Steel and Stormbright, what's their relationship? Brothers, correct?
Yeah, they're brothers.
Mhm.
One's a couple years older than the other.
Mhm.
The
Who's the older?
is that would be Steel,
Okay.
or as you first know him in the book, it is Cerathus. The younger is Stormbright, who is originally Zolan, and there's sort of an interesting dynamic there, because Steel is kind of like overprotective of his brother. He's also a bit rash, kind of a bad boy in sense. Whereas Stormbright is a little more curious, a little more naive, but he's also more empathetic. He's there to be. He's really there. Who's the more knowledgeable one out of the two of them. So you
Mhm.
sort of have this roguish thief and more of kind of like a sorcerer dynamic going on. So that kind of feeds into their whole dynamic between each other. But I also wanted to have certain scenes where they're split apart and see how that also affects them.
I like that. Well, and there's that is a type of storytelling that has absolutely been done, and it's one of those. It's been tried and tested, and in the best senses, moments like that when the characters are kind of alone, and like what you were saying, when you felt alone in your life and you had to kind of test your mettle and get through it. You kind of it sounds like you're kind of taking your characters and putting them through something a little similar to what you went through.
Yeah, but I wanted to make sure that they were separate from me. I did not want it to be just a self-insert. That was what
So
ended
they are
up.
not, in fact, otters.
No, they are not otters.
Okay.
But I wanted to make sure that
Hold on,
both of them were
spoilers.
distinct from each other. That was something I struggled with a lot early on, and I wanted to be sure that they had a different approach to the same problem. They go at it from two different angles. They're both effective in their own way, but whenever they start working together, they find that harmony, they're much more formidable. I wanted that to be a huge part of it.
So how many different scenes or different situations do we see them in the book? I mean, 228 pages, that's some ground, but it's not a lot of ground. So I mean, I'm assuming they're on a journey. How many places and situations does this journey take them on in this edition of the book?
Well, let's see. If without really getting into any spoilers, they are slaves at first, but later on they become gladiators, soldiers, and then freelance adventurers.
So you're covering You're covering some ground there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a lot of ground.
That's a lot of ground. Wow, I was not expecting that much.
What's
And
the
that-
word count on this?
It's just over 50,000 words.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna
Originally,
say
it was
200
much
pages,
more.
roughly.
Yeah.
So it's firmly in the novella zone, I would say.
So
Right?
it will only take me a half a year
It-
to read.
It's
Just
right around the
shy.
novel zone, but just shy.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think novel starts at 70, right? I don't know.
It depends on who you ask.
I think it's
Generally
also
speaking,
people say it's different genres have different lengths, yada yada.
generally
So,
speaking, novels are 60, 65 and up as
Mhm.
far as word count, but that it really depends on who you ask. Everybody's got a different opinion on it.
mhm.
Bat Sauce, long novella. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long novella.
Yeah.
I was kind of comparing it to other series at the time. I think one of the longest Conan stories is like 70,000 words. I think
Mhm.
that's Hour of the Dragon.
Okay. How many? Okay, just out of curiosity, with this being your first entry, what's the overall story arc? I mean, do they reach a significant conclusion here, or is it kind of setting up more series?
So at one point it is setting up a larger story, but
Mhm.
primarily what this book is about Steel and Stormbright gaining their freedom
Mhm.
and learning how to tread on their own 2 feet across the world, because throughout the entire novel or novella, they are being hunted, basically.
Yeah.
If they're not slaves, they're actively being pursued.
Mhm.
And later in the story, this kind of scales up a little bit, but it's still essentially them.
Mhm.
And my villain, General Karst, she's pretty well the embodiment of the society that is enslaving them originally. And she's kind of like a symbol of both what on first appearance seems like legendary heroism, but
Mm.
once you dig into it, it is utter depravity. So I really wanted to have sort of like a dichotomy there of sort of like the false knight in white armor.
Gotcha.
All right. All right. You took 2 young men, and I've seen the pictures, and put them up against a rather decent looking evil lady. Do the young men get ensnared by the evil lady at some point because they're just like, damn, she hot? Like, is that a thing?
There is a moment of temptation at one point.
There, okay, I guess it's I just remember stuff. They used to put stuff like that in like Power Rangers when I was growing up. So as soon as you were like, oh, it's an evil lady character. Later seasons, not the earlier seasons.
Power
in
I was
Rangers?
space.
gonna say.
What are we thinking of? Do you have like a weird
No.
attraction to Rita or whatever it was? I mean,
No, the later seasons you had.
I'm a little worried here, Royce.
No. They Astronema from Power Rangers in Space, and then
I forget that you're still a young in here.
yeah. No, anyway, but what was funny too is it was funny when like, you know, because they go through like the whole show and like one of the characters will get their ass kicked. It'll be like one of the guy characters gets their ass kicked, and then all of a sudden, you know, that it all turns out at the end, and they were just like, yeah, were you terrified? And they're like, yeah, kind of. She wasn't bad to look at. And they'd like just throw cheeky things in there like that. And so it just, when I'm like, okay, so I had to ask the question. It's like, you've got 2 young men going up against what is essentially this woman who, and like you said, with utter depravity. And obviously there are various, that's a range, like depravity is a range, right? And so it's like, all right, so now not only are we going to test them physically, but we're going to test them, you know, mentally and spiritually and in those ways as well. And, you know, I think that's something that so far I haven't seen a lot of characters get tested in that way in some of the books that I've read. And I haven't read many, but it's just an interesting thing. And that's why I had to ask the question.
Well, specifically, she's sort of like a femme fatale in a few ways. I wanted it to be where she is a character who is very clearly sexy, but
Fuck you, Richard.
she's also using it to her advantage. She knows she's sexy, but for her, it's a weapon, just as much as her rapier is. So it's just another angle of getting an edge in the actual conflict.
That's really cool, dude. Doing a femme fatale villain character, I haven't seen yet. I've seen the sneaky backstabbing female characters, not necessarily in the femme fatale form, but it's really interesting. Why go with a villain? Why choose a villain like that? I know in an earlier conversation we were having, you had mentioned that it didn't start out like that. Where did the villain start, and how did you end up here?
Oh God. Well, originally General Care sort of started out as a deconstruction of a lot of girl boss type characters, and it kind of morphed and changed a little from there into something a little more unique, a little more conventional, but not really. At first, she was kind of a deconstruction of characters like from The Last of Us 2, characters like Abby or what Ellie turns into. So originally, she wasn't even supposed to be sexy at all. And in an earlier draft, she was a lot more masculine. But as drafting kind of went along, and especially once I really determined what I wanted the story to be, I kind of put two and two together. A lot of classic swords and sorcery stories, there's plenty of femme fatale villains that are both sexy and powerful. And so that was kind of me saying, oh, yeah, she can be sexy, but she can also be dangerous. And part of that is where I came up with the idea of her being a falconer, which is a special type of military rank where with her divine goddess, she's basically granted a drop of their blood. Her strength, mental acuity is enhanced, but it doesn't really alter her appearance at all because it's a balance of domineering and beauty.
You definitely put a lot of thought. Well, I mean, and I don't say that to sound like demeaning, but like you're attacking characters from multiple different angles and personality traits that all can bounce off of each other. You said you worked on how long did you work on this book?
I had worked on this book for around 2 years. I probably would have gotten it done sooner if I went with the original concept, but that original concept was rough. I wasn't too happy with it.
So when was when do you make the decision to go from original concept to this? Like, how deep into it are you?
Well, the big change was, it was really just kind of like along a walkabout one day. And for the longest time, I had a working title in my head of what the book and the story would be. I think the working title was like the Storm God's Herald. And earlier drafts, it was a bit more of a chosen one type story. I wasn't too happy with how that turned out. But as I was coming along, I was thinking, this needs a little more grit. It needs a little bit more of a tight pace to it. What would really fit that? And the name Steel and Stormbright came to my head. And as soon as that hit, I went, I know what I'm doing. I know exactly what I'm doing. It was clear from then on. And that's where a lot of it really started to change. The world was pretty well the same. The major plot beats were very similar, but so at that point, all I really needed to do was trim a bit more fat, get the pacing to something where I was satisfied with. But most importantly, it fit these characters to who they were. They had different names at that point, but that name Steel and Stormbright, I went, they don't immediately start out as heroes, but they become heroes. So they adopt those names as they go along. And in the greater moments of tension, sort of as a callback to those earlier drafts, I wanted them to address each other by their original names. So if they're getting beaten down in battle, or there's a moment of dread or danger, I want them to be calling each other by like Sarathus or Zolan, not Steel and Stormbright.
Mhm.
So it's pretty much a declaration of them wanting to be who they are. Like this is their actual ethos where they want to be.
That's fantastic. Um,
Adds a nice level of depth.
it does.
And that was not planned out whatsoever. That just came along.
So I feel like this is a good time to go over here to the Amazon page. And if you're all right with it, Otter, I would love to do my horrible dramatic readings
Yeah, go ahead.
for your blurb. But I love this. And all of your description there, I felt just fed really naturally into going into checking this out. So as you guys can see over here on Amazon, this is Curse of the Star Wraith, Steel and Storm Bright. Let's get that link down in the description for you guys. And as you can see, I ordered it on November 19th, and it still hasn't shipped. Amazon.
Oh, Amazon.
Oh,
I've had a few issues with Amazon.
yeah. I should have ordered from Barnes and Noble. But no way.
Blame the supply chains.
Yeah. I mean, God, don't get me. Anyway, in a world where gods walk alongside mortals and humanity is cowed into submission by the Empire of Alcaron, two brothers find themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. Taken from their homes and subjected to terrors that would drive any man insane, Sarathos and Zolon will have to learn just what it takes to be men in a world that appears indifferent to their very existence. Following their journey, our heroes shall find themselves pitted against a slew of unspeakable horrors, all the while they are being pursued by General... how did you say the name? Sarest? Karst. God, I need to learn how to read. A woman whose reputation...
It is a fantasy name.
Yes, it's all fantasy names throw me off. A woman whose reputation and malice knows no bounds. Nowhere is safe. Instead, both will have to learn the true meaning of strength, resolve, and friendship. They will have to rise to the occasion when all else would rather have them turning away in fear. They will have to become Steel and Stormbright. Dude, that's a really good blurb, man.
Thank you.
That's a really good. It gives you just enough to be like, all right, there's some story here, man. You've got something going.
There was very much a musical influence with Steel and Stormbright. It didn't start immediately, but as time went on, certain groups especially like Eclipse or Blind Guardian, they really influenced the final tone of who Steel and Stormbright are. It very much kind of feeds into the I'm a hero, but I am also vulnerable and I will likely stumble and fall at certain points. We're helping each other back up though, and we're pushing forward.
So they're human.
Yeah.
I mean, no, and is it okay? Would it be easy to get kind of lost in the hero fantasy where it's just they kind of forget to be human? Was that something that, hey, there's those Harleys you were telling us about?
Yeah, it's all a time and game with muting my mic right at the exact time.
I know you're good, dude. You're good. Was it easy to stay in that lane, like the human lane, or was there a moment in the writing where you were like, oh, okay, I went there? You know, they're not struggling enough to be believable. Like, because I've never written a book, so I don't know.
Yeah, especially this was the thing that kept me just scratching my head with those, like the first draft or two, because I think I got to the end of the second draft. I was reading through it and I went, this story is fine. It's not bad. It's not amazing. It's just fine. There's nothing really unique to it. And I went, I know there's more here. I know there's more emotion there. And that's part of why there's a lot of seinen manga influence in this from the very beginning, because in some of the best seinen manga, it's just raw emotion for certain scenes, and you can feel that. And especially early on, because first few chapters, Steel and Stormbright are just kids thrust into a whole situation that's way beyond them, and their whole goal is just to survive. So I knew there was more there than what I had written. And those are also some of the darkest few chapters. They're having to learn how to actually stand on their own 2 feet. And that's where I wanted them to struggle the most. They don't truly become heroes until later on. So I want to have them lose at least a couple of times in meaningful ways before they can succeed. That was really important to me.
What were your you said that there's a number of seinen manga that you pull from. What would you say are your big influences in that regard?
The biggest influence I would have to say is a manga called Vinland Saga, if you're familiar with it.
I'm not familiar with the
anime,
manga, but I am familiar with the anime, but only a little bit. I haven't watched a whole lot of it.
Fucking weeb.
What? I'm pretty sure you watch more anime than I do there.
I probably do now.
Mr.
Yeah, my
Well, never
life
mind.
has changed in the last year. So
Well,
The last year, okay. A year ago, somebody
no,
was.
legitimately.
was-
Like my daughter wanted. She was getting what the hell was she?
I'm just saying, a year ago, somebody was arguing about Legend of Korra. Feeling very
That's not a
strongly
fucking
about
anime.
it,
That
so.
is not an anime. That is a Western animation. It is not. It is
This
not
is
an anime.
this is see. I think you're just making my case here.
Anime is made in Japan. And I didn't watch a lot of it until like a year ago.
the weird thing about
Nickelodeon doesn't count.
What?
the weird thing about Vinland Saga though was it was what originally inspired this story from the very, very beginning. Because there is a major amount of attention to detail with historical accuracy in Vinland Saga. It's one of the reasons why I really like it. There are a few parts where there's some underlying ideology I very heavily disagree with. And it was one scene in particular where I disagreed with it so much that it kind of spiraled out into what this is. So there's elements of Vinland Saga here for sure, inspiration wise, but it's almost like a response to that in a weird way. I don't want to think that's the only reason why it's there, but that's kind of how it started out.
Well, I think that there's a lot of creatives in the indie space that saw one piece of media or another out, or there was always a straw that broke the camel's back at least, and it was like, that's it. I'm just going to do it myself, And
yeah, that was it for me.
That's interesting.
That's really cool. That I wonder how many pieces are out there, because I mean, a lot of people are like, yeah, no, I was inspired by this, but you don't hear a lot of people go, I disagreed with this thing really bad, so I made a book about it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think that there's a lot of creatives out there who, if you talk to them,
It's more common than you realize. Yeah.
who are like, well, I liked this one thing. If we're talking positively, they'll say what they liked and everything. And I mean, even like Otter was saying, it's like, he liked this thing, but he liked it so much that when things went differently than I'm taking it, than you would have, deemed them to go, that it motivated you enough to potentially start this whole project. Maybe that's not entirely it, but is that kind of one of the origination points for it?
Yeah, it was kind of the origin point, because I wouldn't have even this wouldn't have even been its own book if I didn't love the series as much as it did from the beginning, because 90% of it is a story that's masterfully told. A lot of it is a commentary on the nature of humanity, the nature of violence. But specifically, it was the idea of man making his own paradise where he's free to do as he will, like freely, completely. I kind of took that idea, I thought about it, it was there in the back of my head, and half a dozen different stories and ideas just came out of it. And that was kind of how I came up with the idea for the villains. That's where Alcaron kind of came from right there. That's how General Karst kind of came about. The idea of creating a paradise, but at what cost? is it really paradise if it's only for a certain group of people and everyone else is left to suffer just for the sake of that machine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're getting into like some political shit here,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to rant now, but I can't rant because I'm like, no, I've got to give an interview. But I'm like, I see what you did there, Otter. Like, no, I'm cute and adorable. I'm not making a meta commentary on the way that the world is. And
I'm just telling you how my weird mind works, okay?
No, you're good. You're good. I'm not going to rant, guys. It's not deserving of it yet, but it might be.
I just need to make a few more comments about anime or not anime, apparently.
Oh, God.
And we'll send him over the edge.
No. No,
Yeah.
no.
We'll let him
Herman
rant
should send me
later.
some pointers.
Yeah, I can rant later. I can rant later. It's fine. It's fine. We've got the Otter here, and I haven't even done the dramatic reading of the first page. Why did I do it like that? YouTube is changing me in ways that I don't like.
It should only be concerning if you're doing it in real life too.
He does spend a lot of time staring off in the distance and mumbling to himself.
I don't mumble, dude. I have full-on conversations with myself. Get it the fuck right, okay? And people are like, "Oh, that's so funny." No, it's the thing. It's the yeah. My wife used to worry. She used to always think I was pissed off. She's like, "You're talking to yourself. Is everything okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, everything's good." She's like, "But are you mad at me for something?" I'm like, "No." Why were you talking to yourself? Like, oh, I just had this thing in my head, and it just like really, really irritated me. I'm like, "No, we're good." And she was just like, "What the fuck?" It's my way to get I process lots of information. Anyway, but yeah, let's not do that boring thing about the way that my brain. Hey, Origin. No, I want the first page of the first chapter. Damn it.
That is the first page of the first chapter.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. That is a very long first page. Whoa. That whole thing is the first page?
Well, that is an ebook format. That's not just the first page.
Okay, usually first page fits right about there. We'll go to intensity. That's where we'll go. All right. All right, dramatic reading time. I'm going to absolutely screw this up. Lord Otter, I'm not sorry.
I'm sorry.
I have to screw up your book. I have to.
Okay.
But I might get you a sale or two.
I'll take it.
Okay. All right. Origin, guys. We'll get through the first few paragraphs here. Darkness came in full as the storm clouds rolled overhead. The landscape reeled with its plains of golden grass, acacia trees, and cool... What in the fuck were... Rhododendrons?
Rhododendrons.
What the hell is a rhododendron?
It's a flower-ish, yeah.
Why do you know what that is?
Because I write lots of things.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. I was like, "What, you study flowers? Were you gay?" Anyway, all right. And cool rhododendrons, dimming as if under a spell. All the magic and hope of that land vanished with it. In its place, there came a feeling of ominous uncertainty, coupled with the odd streak of lightning. The brothers frowned as they rode atop their mares. The cowls spanned over their heads while rain soaked them to the bone. Normally, Zolon and Sarathos wouldn't have been surprised by the weather like this, yet it dawned on them that this was no ordinary storm. It arrived in a matter of minutes, and what started as a mild drizzle had become a powerful downpour. Why am I adding words? My brain is not functioning. Had become a downpour. It looks like we've chosen a bad time to visit Mother's grave, said Zolon, his voice barely recognizable over the howling winds. Well, it's too late to change that now, his brother replied. This storm is getting worse by the minute. We should find some cover. Perhaps you're right. He looked about them, spotting a lone acacia tree standing nearby. Its branches swayed violently with the wind, yet it looked safer than the path they were riding along. Lightning struck overhead. Zolan's horse whinnied in response. The youth tried calming the beast as he could feel her panicked movements coming from underneath him. He kept her calm enough so that she followed his brother. They departed from the path, and soon they were both underneath the boughs of the large acacia trees. The wind howled in their ears, though it seemed that the storm was steadily abating in intensity. All right, that was the dramatic, horrible reading of potentially what is close to the first page of the Lord Otter's book. Color me impressed for your first book, man. Color me impressed, dude. That's pretty well done.
Thank you.
That's
There's some pretty gnarly drama that happens just after that.
well, if the guys want to find out about the drama, it's $15.99 to finish, guys. It's $16 to finish plus tax because the government's got to get theirs too. But if you guys want to go over and check out The Curse of the Star Wraiths, go over to Amazon, check it out. If you want to finish the book, don't cheat and go read the rest of the sample. Don't cheat. Go buy the book. It'd be a great Christmas present. So I've heard. You know, if Amazon would ever send me mine. So no, that was... You're getting very... I like that you're getting very intense with the weather. You're using the weather to set the tone. Obviously, Steel and Storm Bright does... It kind of alludes to, you know, naturalistic phenomenons and things like that. Very magical and whatnot. Does that happen through most of the rest of the book, where you use the weather and the world around to set the tone, or is that just kind of specifically for the intensity of this scene?
The world is its own character, and I wanted to make a point of that. This is something I had picked up from other writers such as Lord Dunsany and Fritz Leiber. They will give certain human characteristics to the world to make it feel like its own person. And I really wanted that here. So the storm is one element to that, and there is a reason for that. Later on, there are also the two moons that overpass the world, and they have contradicting orbits. And part of the whole situation with that is over time, they will eventually pull each other in and crash into one another. But that's supposedly, it's indeterminate, but it's supposedly hundreds of years down the line.
Supposedly. Maybe.
Allegedly.
Possibly. Athletic tits. Somebody said that earlier.
That was a whole meme.
That was a whole meme for like two. You're getting up to your book release, and all of a sudden people are like, guys, you got to read this book. It's got some awesome athletic tits. And I was like, what does that even mean?
You can thank Billy Bob Sack for that.
Yeah.
He was one of my beta readers, and
Not surprised.
Is that in the book? Yeah,
no, not strictly. No,
not strictly.
there was one scene where it's like a throwaway line about a character's breasts. I say athletic breasts.
Oh god.
He goes, "What the hell, Otter?" I immediately reword it, but he still runs with it, saying, "Oh yeah, you should buy Otter's books. There's athletic tits in it." I go, "Okay." After a certain point, it was too good of a phrase not to use. Let's just put it at that.
It's great, man. It's the meme marketing. Yeah. Oh god. That's great, dude. Man, there's a lot packed in here.
I wanted to be sure that the story has plenty of ideas that it cycles through, but I also wanted to make sure it didn't feel too rushed. And for the most part, it sounds like I've achieved that. I don't want to sound too presumptuous, but I hope I have.
No, that would be awesome. I think that's what every author wants to do. There was a question I had. I kind of alluded to it in the beginning of this. What was one of your favorite pieces? Because I know you had some beta readers and stuff, and without obviously giving away like spoilers or anything, what was a piece of feedback that you received that was, I guess, your favorite piece of feedback, or like the most, or one of the ones that you thought was just like most beneficial? Like, oh crap, like whether it was in editing or writing or verbiage or anything like that. What was a piece of feedback that you got? Because I think a lot of writers are here in the chat working on their own things. And I think it'd be helpful for other writers to hear, feedback that you got, and it might help them take the feedback easier.
Yeah, and I definitely know where everyone is, especially if you're writing your first project. You may receive tougher feedback, but learning how to take what's there that will actually work to your manuscript's benefit, it's such an important skill. The biggest one for me is that what you just read, that wasn't originally my first chapter. It was and it wasn't.
Whoa. All right, now you're playing mind games with me. It was and it wasn't. It's hot and it's cold. Like, all right, Katy Perry, just tell me what we're doing here.
I had a later scene be the first chapter and then it jumped back in time, but it didn't work.
Oh.
And I even had a few people who had read through the first chapter and say, wait, are these people supposed to be their own race? Is this a faction? What's happening? And I went, okay, something's off here. And this was a few different beta readers. They went, I like the first chapter. There's some potential there, but there's a lot of unanswered questions that are just nagging at me. They get to the second chapter and they say, I love this chapter. It should be your first chapter.
How? So, I mean, I knowing you, I would imagine you probably took it a little bit more humbly, or did you? I mean, I would think that you'd be like, oh crap, yeah, maybe I should. Or was that a hard thing for you to be like, or was that an easy thing for you to go, yeah, just plop, like?
In a way, it was kind of tough because I had rearranged a few scenes. It was earlier on because the major problem this story had a few drafts ago was the pacing originally was a lot slower than I would have liked. And in that kind of scramble to really make sure that everything was kind of coming along at a good pace, developing characters and also introducing the world, I had actually trimmed off a lot of fat with some of the earlier chapters. But things had kind of gotten moved around to where I thought it would work, but it really didn't. And all it really took was to place that one chapter I had at first, move it just a couple spots ahead, reword a couple of things, and it worked perfectly in the moment.
Hey, you keep saying drafts. How many drafts did you do?
About 7 or 8.
Oh. Okay, is that normal? I'm an idiot here. Is that a normal thing for authors, or is that
starting out? Yes. For a novella, it's a little unheard of, but since it's a debut, first effort at publicizing something, I can definitely see it. Nowadays, I usually go through 3, but I've got a lot of experience under my belt at this point, so it doesn't take as much to refine a story as it used to. But The Wizard's Mistake, my first book, ran through 5 different iterations before I settled on it.
And Richard, I know your wife. She's written.
Mm-hmm. I think
thing, like
I would say first books have a lot of drafts, and I would also say just as a general rule that I think that before authors find a pacing where they're putting out books regularly and able to do it consistently, that there's often times where, and I mean, I'm not an author, so maybe the 2 actual authors here should speak up, but that whenever you're writing and you stop, sometimes there's a stop and start effect where you start going up a hill And then if you can't work on it for an extended period of time, then you realize, oh man, I shouldn't have gone up that hill. So then you back down and go somewhere else. And I think those instincts just have to be developed through doing to a certain degree.
Well,
Yeah, absolutely.
I also fell into the pitfall where I didn't have anyone really reading the manuscript, and what beta readers I did have were close friends and family, which I'm a little more hesitant about now because you need that honest feedback.
So,
And I had fallen into
Absolutely.
that trap, which had kind of caused some revisions, which I weren't really all that happy with. And so for a lot of new writers out there who are struggling, and you may get the feedback, there's a good story in there, it just needs work. I know exactly what you mean by that. Like, trust me, I've been there, and you just stick with it and you listen to some of the feedback people will give you. Good, honest, constructive feedback, you will get there. Like, it's just a matter of time, discipline, and patience. Because having good editors and beta readers help to point you in the right direction, because they will help you find the best parts of your story and your characters for you. All you need to do is work around it and take the opportunities that come along the way. And that's what happened here, because I kind of fell into a lot of pitfalls early on, especially a lot of those novice writer pitfalls. And it was a struggle to get through, but I do think it's all meaningful struggles going along.
It's fair. I will make a short PSA for the first timers out there. All of what Otter said is true, but there is one factor that I would like everyone to keep in their mind, and that is that it may not happen when you want it to. A lot of us are pushing hard to produce things, but from experience, some of you may not be aware, a couple of years ago, I actually attempted to crowdfund a book that I hadn't even finished and ended up not finishing it because I hated the whole draft. I was about maybe 40,000 words into the whole thing. So I'd gotten pretty far, and then I was like, this is absolute trash. I don't want it. So I started rewriting it, and I got about 25,000 words into that. So 65,000 words total, and still didn't like it. That book is called Rise of the Patriot. It is not finished still to this day. And I just had to put it aside and say, when it comes to me, I'll finish writing it. But right now, it's just not working. And maybe it won't. Maybe 5 years from now, I'll finally have that eureka moment where it does come together, like Otter had with the Steel and Storm Bright name. But you got to let it go sometimes.
Sometimes you do have to let it go. And that's the thing. Sometimes it just takes time.
I actually understand that thing, because when I was first starting out writing my own songs, there was a song, and it actually turned into one of my favorites. I actually still played it. Very, very simple four power chord song, but it's actually a song that I carried through into my adulthood because I loved it. But the first year that song was around, that I practiced it with my band, it didn't have a second verse because I couldn't think of one. And I tried. I sat down. I can't tell you how many second verses I wrote, and they're trash. Nothing fit. And all of a sudden, I'm sitting there watching something, and it clicked in my head, and I'm like frantically like trying to get the pencil in my hand to get my amp on, and like I get it, and sometimes it clicks, and I remember calling my buddies. I'm like, guys, I wrote the second verse, and they're like, fuck off. I'm like, no, I really did it. Like I did, and they actually heard it. They're like, dude, that's better than the first. I'm like, I know. But so I actually get that, time, what's the old adage, absence makes the heart grow fonder. And I think if it's something that you really want to finish and really want to do, eventually, that emotional side of you as a writer will go, okay, here it is. Here's the story. Here's how you're going to do it. You know, just like what happened with that second verse of that song. So what?
And just watching the chat, Danielle, no, I pulled the crowdfund immediately when I couldn't get the book to go where I wanted it to go. So no, not technically, no, I did not pull a G.R.R. Martin, because there was no series to fail on. It was the first attempt at writing that specific thing. But every once in a while I'll hear a song and I'll get a scene, and the idea just goes into my concepts folder for whenever I can put them all together and make the book. Until then, I got other stuff to do.
I even had a character that came about sort of along those lines.
Oh, I love that.
There is one Blind Guardian song I really love, and at one point for the longest time I heard them say "Old Man Darkness, Old Man Darkness," and what it was actually saying is "Roman Darkness." But me mishearing that, I went, "I love that name," so I wrote it down, and it's actually part of the draft. It's part of the story. It's part of the world.
Yeah, I've done similar. Hasegawa from G Sedai came out of nowhere, wasn't originally part of the outline.
How? Obviously, you have to have a good outline, which is why I would fail at this. I don't like outlines. Outlines piss me off. Kind of. I outline differently though, because I'm a musician, so outlines are sporadic at best. But
the ability to pivot's really useful.
Yeah, I was going to say, how much danger do you feel pivoting from the outline that's originally there? Like, obviously, if
I'll let Otter answer that first.
Yeah, what I'm asking is, you're going to have to pivot from the outline. Were there pivots that you made that obviously are the correct call now, but in the moment you were like, I don't know if I like this. I'm unsure about it.
Well, I mean, I inevitably pivoted from my outline. One thing I try to do, especially with something that's a little more novella or novel length, I try to make the outline as solid as I can. Try and iron out as many plot holes I can see right in front of me. But there's inevitably going to be that point whenever you're actually writing out your first draft that something's going to deviate, but it feels natural. It makes sense. And sometimes that idea you had at first will evolve over time. And how I did it isn't necessarily how I would recommend other authors to do it, because a lot changed from where it was originally. But I sort of saw a lot of these ideas grow up where I originally saw them. The base of it was there. There was the seed of that potential, but it grew over time into what it is now.
Yeah. It's interesting. When I personally outline now, originally I was very rigid about it and it affected my ability to draft. But now when I do an outline, it's a couple of sentences that give me story beats and essentially a synopsis of what should be covered as far as the pacing of the narrative. Everything else is freestyle. I just sit down and I start writing. And sometimes, you go back into your next draft and you cut a part out and replace it with something else, or just leave it out because it didn't matter. It was rambling or irrelevant to the overall story, a character detail that nobody really needs to know. Like, for example, my original story for G Sedai was just Gabriel and Hannah on the run and constantly moving in the ruins outside. But as I was writing, I thought it would be interesting if they took refuge in an abandoned church. So I put it in. And then I thought, well, what if the church isn't abandoned and someone was living out there in the ruins by themselves? And what would that person be like? And slowly but surely the old man formed. And then as I was writing it, I was thinking, okay, this is just going to be a bit. Like, he's here, he says, stay for the night, here's some water, you're safe for now, I'll keep watch, or something like that. And then they would move on afterwards. But the more I thought about it in between writing sessions, the more the character grew. And I went from just this strange old hermit living out in the ruins outside of the city for no good reason to his family had been caretaker of that church for generations, because that's a big deal out there in Japan. You know, there was a lot of legacy when it came to holy places. You know, families took care of plots of land, temples, things like that. And I thought, he's by himself now, and there's this young girl who is just innocent enough to be endearing. What if they built a rapport? And from that rapport, the whole story changed, because all of a sudden she had a surrogate grandfather in this old man that I never planned. So being able to pivot that and quickly rearrange the outline some, because it didn't affect the grand scheme of the death duels between the killers and things like that, but it did add a whole nother element of humanity to the story that I hadn't originally intended.
Yeah, and a good example of an idea that evolved from where it wasn't originally, were the star raids themselves. They weren't originally named the star raids. In my original outline, they were more kind of like akin to the best comparison, or kind of like Isildur's army, who kind of abandoned him in The Lord of the Rings. But over time, I always had this idea of a civilization that kind of reveres the stars, and it's part of their whole culture and tradition, because their whole goddess, it's widely believed that they descended from the stars, and they're kind of like the children of them. So as part of their curse, they come back as these ghostly beings. And at one point, it just kind of, I was thinking about it, and I went, you know, the curse of the star raids, it makes sense. And instead of having them be sort of this more generic ghostly type figure, all of a sudden they're more of kind of like this abstract starry phantasma. They're just as dangerous, but there's a lot more to it all of a sudden.
Interesting. And a lot more unique than going with the somewhat common, you know, undead sort of stylized concept. So
The dangerous...
now I want to ask you a bunch of questions about it, but I'm going to respect your no spoilers policy.
I will say this, what made that part unique is they're much better camouflaged at night, for one. Two, I
Makes
always
sense.
had the idea that they can sort of like coalesce together. There's sort of an element of almost kind of like a hive mind, and sort of have like fractured memories. And as part of their overall tactic, they can mesh into sort of what's described in the book is almost, it appears like a rip in space time or something like that. It's just cosmos. So it's an evolution of an idea that started off as kind of sort of generic, but over time, the more I thought about it, the more it became it kind of came into its own.
Yep. Almost like it wanted to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
Been there. Every single book I've written, something's been in that I never intended, and it's always incredibly interesting.
Those, I think, are some of the best things when you're writing, when you're coming up with stuff, when you're, you know, and it's, I really, I think that's one of the things that I love talking with authors about, is because although a very different style of writing, but songwriting very much the same. And when you feel that thing and you're just like, all right, that, like, I've had songs, I'm just like, I've thrown lyrics out just like, yeah. And then it just something comes out and you're like, man, I never thought the song was going to have this vibe to it. And this just wasn't what and I think those are some of the best works that people produce is when it just, the two things, they just naturally emerge from the depths of your heart, your soul, your mind, whatever place it comes from. And I really do think that those are some of the best things to come in art. So
spontaneous ingenuity. The same thing that happened with the Chronicler stories. Originally, I had planned on just the two mages, and they carried all of their things in bags of holding, and I wanted that to be the kitsch, the funny little nod to people who play tabletop RPGs. But I was like, the first story is incredibly dry because it's just these two mages, and one of them is basically just giving a an anthropological dissertation while they wander through this village. And I'm like, that's kind of boring. It needs something funny. And then I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if they had this huge, stupid Neanderthalithic troll ogre thing that actually carried the bag of holding and carried multiple bags of holding so they could store all sorts of treasures. And suddenly I had Groknar, which was absolutely silly and added a whole nother element to the tales.
That's awesome. I know we are getting up here on time.
Yes,
for
Richard turns into a pumpkin now.
He does. It's, you guys don't want to see him after 9:30. It's kind of weird. It gets a little freaky.
Yeah, I get very orange. I told my daughter,
I'm waiting for him to get an orange light, like turn it on.
Yeah, that's what I should do. Just put an orange hue on everything. I don't post anything. I just turn on the light.
Yep, exactly. That's the cue.
Yeah, I told my daughter that who's 5. I was like, oh yeah, no, you got to get to bed. You got to hurry up. Let's go, because I'm going to turn into a pumpkin soon. And she was like, Daddy, that's not funny. And I was
like, you terrified her for life, and you're just like,
yeah, she was like, I don't like it when you joke like that. And I was like, okay, little Miss Super Serious Girl.
Yep.
Oh dear.
It's a great age.
Kids say the darndest things. You guys remember that?
Yeah. Oh man, she is definitely a character and does not like my harassment. But speaking of harassment, I'm harassing authors and artists even as we speak about things going on for Anvil #3, trying to get everything wrapped up there. For anybody who wants to go get a subscription for 2024, pre-order issue #3 or back First Strike, it's all on anvilmagazine.com. IronAge.media is where you can find all of the articles and prompts and everything else that have been collected. And I'll be streaming on Sunday night. I'm going to be playing Hunt Showdown again, I think, with Sword Rush and Ultimate Kahuna. So with that, I think my shilling is complete. Lord Otter, I will be buying and reading your book once I am done with the chaos that is ahead of me. And to all of you, I wish a good evening. I'm going to not end the stream this time.
Yeah, that was, he's like, oh shit, not that button. I was like, no, Richard, no.
I should just kick is there a way to kick everybody? No, anyway. All right, good night, guys.
Good night, Richard.
Good night.
All right, guys. And you heard it here first. If you are an author, an artist, or anything like that, and you want some harassment, hit up Richard. He will.
I can attest. He'll get you.
He'll harass you if you guys want some harassment. A lot of people, everybody needs some harassment in their life. Sorry, old construction worker jokes, because they're like HR. People be throwing, you guys all know, be throwing around dirty jokes at work, and they're like, "What the hell?" You're like, "I need to go HR over there." Like, what are you gonna report us for harassment? I'm like, yeah, I didn't get any.
What about me?
What about me? No. Oh no, the jokes were dirty. I'm just sad that I wasn't included. Like,
And that makes me offended.
And that makes me oh god, I hated the HR generation. That's what we live in right now, and it bothers
How
me so.
dare you?
Yeah, shut up, Greta. Oh god, I just. Anywho's it that yeah. Sorry. I did the harassment. I tangent. I don't tangent as much as I used to though. I'm happy about that. I saved my tangents for Sunday, and like last night, there was a lot of tangents last night.
There's a lot of beer last night.
There was a lot of beer last night. There was a lot of, like I said, I didn't get there on stream, but about 5 minutes after the stream was over, I was just like, whew. I sat there and I talked with, I should have gone to bed. I didn't. I ended up talking with Andrew for quite a while after that. And
Not surprised.
And continued to drink. It was a frantic wake up this morning. I was like, shit, gotta go to work. Fuck.
Yep.
Oh, so, I'm gonna be honest, man. I don't know what other questions I would have for your book without trying to get into like spoiler territory, because I don't want you to give away anything. Like I said, guys, if you want to finish this book, it's $16. Are you having better luck with people getting it from Barnes and Noble?
Yeah, and
Okay.
I mean, certain countries like Barnes and Noble doesn't really reach them, so they've kind of had to go through Amazon.
Right.
Which is
gone Barnes and Noble.
It's kind of been a little unfortunate, but at least through the Barnes and Noble side, from what I've heard anyway, it seems like delivery time has been pretty spectacular. Amazon is where I've been hearing more of the problems. That's where I've been hearing a lot, which it's not been the best.
Dude,
Should we let Royce rant now, Otter?
Maybe.
I don't know. I can't. I haven't had bad luck with Amazon so far, and I'm kind of irritated that I'm having bad luck on this one, because I really wanted to crack it open and check it out, just because it just, like, the story of Brotherhood and all that, man, that's right up my alley.
I have a soft spot for those sorts of stories ever since Dragonlance.
Yeah. Right.
Caramon and Raceland Magier.
All right. So, have you gotten reviews in?
Yes, I've actually gotten a few already. Timo was one of my first reviews, actually.
Ooh.
Timo.
So, I've seen glowing reviews out there for this book, and just reading the first few paragraphs that we read, like it doesn't read like a first novella or novel. Like it doesn't. It's clean. You put the time, effort, and energy into it. Obviously you had Mr. Daniel Riley go through it. You know, I don't know how many times. I have no idea how much you went. Didn't you go through that?
Actually, Daniel didn't go through it.
Nope, had nothing to do with this one.
I thought you did.
Mm-mm.
No way. There's a book
Yep.
Daniel didn't molest before it reached the shelves?
Sybil was my unofficial editor for this book.
Oh. I did not know that.
He cleaned up a lot of the prose. Trust me on this one.
No, dude, it looks good. Obviously, you got great feedback from the beta readers, and I know some of them, and those, obviously you mentioned one guy earlier, Billy Bobsack. He does not care. He will be as brutally honest with you as he can.
That's exactly what it needed. And I'm all the happier for it.
Yeah, and like I said, and I know you had some other beta readers and stuff too, and I know doing the beta reader stuff, it's got to be terrifying, right? It's got to be terrifying. But like I said, I don't know what else I could ask you about this outside of just like telling everybody, guys, you got to go check it out, and then, I mean, unless there's something that you want to touch on before we go to Super Chats, Otter.
Yeah, there was one last thing I wanted to note about the book, and you may have kind of gleamed on it a little bit through the writing.
I like to gleam.
I wanted to have it be sort of like a blend between old school and new school. I didn't really want to go the route of sort of like your standard limited third person perspective. There's a little bit more of how Timo put it, more of a zoomed in, omniscient third person perspective, which isn't necessarily standard. But then again, I don't want this story to be part of the standard.
Fuck the rules.
Yeah, and that's one of the overall themes I believe is in this story is this isn't going this in many ways this isn't going by the rules. There's a blend of old school and new school language in this, and that was something I wanted to make a point out of. It and this is something I've been hearing a little bit from readers, which it's been very humbling to hear. Is it's easy enough to follow pretty without really any hiccups, but there is some more flowery language you don't really see in a lot of more modern novels.
I would love to say something here. Can we stop calling it flowery language and can we just call it higher level language? Because the one thing that I have noticed in the books,
we can use the old writer term for it.
What is it?
Purple prose.
I was about to use that instead. If that makes you feel any better, Royce.
It doesn't. Still sounds gay as hell. No, especially if I'm in a fantasy world, okay? And people, they call it flowery language, but if you look into it, it is a more masterful technique of the language being spoken. And if I am reading a book from somebody who's taking me into another world and the language is so damn similar to what I use every single day, because what is it? There's a couple thousand words in the English language, and we use on average 200 in our day-to-day conversation. And when people are like, "Oh, why did they have to use this word to describe stuff this way?" I'm like, because they are using the language to paint the picture of the story. And sometimes you like, let's go with painting, right? I did a little bit of that when I was a kid. Sometimes you take a couple colors and you mix them together. So sometimes you take a word that all of us know the definition to it, but if you put it in this situation, suddenly it has a broader definition, has a different definition that is using language in a masterful way, that's leveling up the language. And that's what a lot of the older writers used to do. You know, we sit there and we read some of these guys, we're like, man, just their language, the way that they spoke, it was common for the fucking time. People since the beginning of time in the day-to-day language spoke much like we did. It was the writers that stood the test of time that took the language that they had and played with it in those ways that stepped it up to another notch. And some people are averse to what is being called flowery language, and I'm going to be honest, I don't see it enough. We've got authors and songwriters and stuff, and it's like, guys, you guys are the craftsmen of words. Use the tools.
For me, part of the whole balancing act is learning the type of language I want to use, and if or when I want to break that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because early on, the actual language and dialogue was very different. It was a much older style of speaking, but it didn't necessarily work. And it was also when I was trying to figure out character voice. But this was something I'd kind of lifted a little bit from Fritz Leiber. I think one of the best quotes for his world, which I have a bit in my own world, is it's so unlike our world, but in another way, it's very like our world. So part of the old and new blend. So there is a little bit of modernization with some of the dialogue, but it's just enough to make them sound distinct from each other. There is still some unique word choices to make sure it's this different setting.
It has to be. Every great story, it has to be recognizable off the bat, right? If every single epic story that has been carried down through the millennia has to be recognizable. Star Wars was recognizable to a certain extent, as we could equate certain things from our world to their world, right? You don't have to go ham. A story that is unrecognizable to just, I don't know, just how the readers kind of live their lives isn't going to be a good story because there's too much there. But when you have things like, people trying to rename water in a fucking book, that would be stupid. That would be utterly stupid. Call it water. Why? Because we all know what water is. There has to be recognition there. And I think what you're doing is sounds, I haven't read the book yet because Amazon won't fucking send it to me. But when I do read the book, it sounds like you kind of understand the recognizability that the language you're using has to have.
Well, one of the number one bits of feedback I got from Sybil and a couple other beta readers, and some of it was relevant, was this word is anachronistic. Some of it I would change, but one or two every here or there, I would say, no, this actually fits it better. Even though it's a bit more of modern wording, it makes sense both for the world and the tone I'm going for. So some anachronisms, depending on how you place them and how they're used, can actually be a good thing, at least in my opinion. I'm not exactly a stickler for old language in a more Bronze Age world, which this is.
Makes sense. Part of the problem that a lot of people have had with flowery purple prose, whatever you want to call it, is that layman's terms took a big step into the limelight. Everybody wanted everything explained to them in an easily understandable format. And the term pedantic, for example, is literally an embodiment of this. Yeah. People refer to overly academic, overly flowery, overly intellectual language as pedantic, and it's got a negative connotation. And so most people, to reach the broadest audience they possibly can, will dumb down their words. And that's the brass tacks of it. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth.
I get it, but the average American uses a 7th grade language in the day-to-day.
Correct.
Is it too fucking much to ask to maybe go to a 9th grade language?
It depends on what you want. That's the point. If you want to sell books to everyone, which is impossible, but it's the dream that most writers go through at some point in their life. If you want to sell to the most amount of people, then you go for the median average. So you go for the 7th grade level. If you want to tell a story and tell a story your way, then you do what Otter did, which is you make your own rules. And,
tell
damn
people,
the
these
masses.
are my rules.
Right.
My house, my rules.
A lot of the simpler language I used in this wasn't even really trying to reach a wider audience. Strangely enough, it was more to try and hone down the dynamic between Steele and Stormbright, because Steele, especially, he's very wisecracking, and part of that requires that
can be hard to do with old language.
Yeah. So there's a certain bit of simpler language that kind of naturally feeds into that. So a lot of that kind of fed into that choice.
Skunk's Workshop over on Rumble.
I apologize.
Oh, sorry. I'll read this one real quick because I don't want to disappear. Sorry. Skunk's Workshop says, I'm that 7th grade level writer Royce hates. Oh, great.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, it just, I don't know. I read a lot of older stuff. Growing up. And well, I mean, like I say, the favorite book is back here. Not pulling it out. I pulled it out last night. But I mean, again, my favorite writing definitely takes it. They're very, very liberal with the language, and I mean, and for good reason. And there's a way to use enough, I guess, common language and a way to use enough higher level language that you can kind of merge it together and make it work. And I think Otter, that's what you're going for.
Right. But that's very tight balance.
Well, fuck? Life is a tight balance, man. Like,
Well, consider
I get it.
Consider if you
God.
want to read a book and every page or two you have to stop and Google search what a word means.
I keep a dictionary next to me.
Sure, but I'm talking average human. Do you want to?
Fuck you, Daniel.
We've long established you're abnormal, my friend. Deal with it.
We're all crazy here.
That's
I'm
the
actually
point,
teaching my kids to keep a dictionary close too. They have begun.
and that's good. But the point is, does a reader want to immerse themselves in what you're telling them in your book, or do they want to stop every couple of pages to look up what it is so they understand you? That's the tight balance that most people avoid by just using simple language. It's easier to just avoid it than it is to challenge your reader.
Just wish people were smarter.
Mm-hmm. But my daughter every day yells at me for using big words, quote unquote. She knows what they mean, but she still likes to yell at me for using them.
People will be like, "Yeah, why did you use that word?" I'm like, "Because it exists." And
I like me some 50-cent words.
I like me some 50-cent words. The language, there's so much, and I'm like, why not? I don't know. I apparently, as you said, I'm abnormal.
Abnormal, yes.
Like I said, we're all crazy here.
We're all crazy. Welcome to the madhouse.
It is a drink with crazy.
Yeah, that it is. Guys, we've got some chats. We got some super chats to get to. Yes. Otter, before we get to the super chats, you got anything you want to say? Obviously, I'll give you your sign off before we end, but anything else you want to talk about before we get into it?
I don't think I have anything else.
Sweet. Let us go.
Super chat time.
Well, there is something. And Mr. Brian McCoppin, also known as Daniel from 2025.
Future me.
This was future. Yeah, this is Brian McCoppin. Daniel turns into Brian McCoppin in the future. It's a very weird time loop thing. It's convergence and reality and the what.
Not just that, but I turned into Brian McCoppin in a wig.
Yeah. It's a weird time paradox. What's it's and the who's it's and the whatnot, and then the scribs. It's very weird.
Something about turpentine.
I don't know. Turpentine becomes this.
If you'd like to know more about this strange occurrence, there is an entire live stream devoted to it.
You think we're being funny. We're just referencing when it was Daniel's turn to be in the seat when he was releasing a book. So if you guys want to go check that out, Sim Theory broke. Stop with the Sim Theory. It's shit's weird. Go check out the NDWC replay channel. That's where I upload all of the old Iron Age nights. I am behind a few weeks.
Yes, you are.
I was utterly lazy last week. No, I think I actually did work on it a little bit last week. All right, let's get over here. Brian McCoppin, Lord Otter, are you doing a book signing this weekend?
It was originally supposed to be yesterday, but it's being pushed back to, it will be the 8th. So that will be, no, not the 8th, the 9th. Saturday, December the 9th. That's when I'll be doing a book signing. And that will be in person.
Yeah. See, I like this space for rent down here. He gets it. Readers can usually guess the meanings of unfamiliar words from context. See? He gets it. This space for rent, you're my favorite. You're my favorite of the chat right now. At least for tonight. We'll see.
That's not a good thing, just so you know.
Shh. Why you be like that?
I gotta warn the newcomer.
What if they're not new?
Maybe they were Lurky Lurkerton.
Lurkerton. All right. Mario Trujillo. Here, my brother in Christ. Speech therapy is a wonderful thing. But for real, great job, Royce. Thank you so much. God bless by the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Amen. Thank you so much, Mario. I appreciate that, man. Over here, we've got the ultimate Kahuna. Which brother are you, Steel or Stormbright, Lord Otter?
Yes.
Okay.
Good answer.
Yeah. Turns out it is a self-insert. It's just within 2 characters, which could be a really unique dynamic to play on your own personality.
2 characters that are each 3 otters in a long coat.
Time paradoxes and yeah. And
That's exactly how it goes.
that's exactly. He's like, you figured it out. 2 characters become 3 otters and what? How does? They're just starting to math in their head. Like, wait a minute. TSBOL. He told me it was TS Bowl.
It's Sybil.
Oh, it's Sybil. Oh,
If you really want to mess with them, pronounce it TS Bowl.
I always call them TSBOL because it's all capital letters. That's not even words. All right. For a Canadian $5, a shout out to Otter and Curse of the Star Wraiths. Reading it cured my diabetes. Well, from what I am told, Sybil, apparently that's how you say that. That's not how you say that. Shout, yeah, Titspel. Titspel. It's some crazy Russian thing. Anyway, but shout out to you for putting in some hard work on this one.
Yeah, I would not be near as happy with the final product without Sybil. Sybil was a major part of this turning out as good as it did.
I am just glad that I am going to have a book that Daniel Riley didn't molest before.
That's correct.
Oh,
it's hard to find those nowadays.
I know. Oh God. Yeah, we can see you, Billy Bobsack. We can see you, Billy Bobsack.
There he is, lurking in the chat.
Yes. I think he's been trying to comment, but Billy Bobsack likes to go hard, and YouTube doesn't like it when people go hard. Especially men. It's not something YouTube is.
It's the athletic tits coming back to bite him.
That was the funniest shit, dude. I was listening to your launch stream. And there was like, all of a sudden I'm sitting there. I've got the smoker running, and I just got you guys playing in the background, and I kind of got distracted because I was focusing on the fire. And all of a sudden, I heard him go, athletic tits, and I was like, what? Okay, I missed a fucking step. So I had to back up, and I was like, what are we talking about?
'Twas the word tits that brought Royce's attention back to the fore.
John A. Douglas. Someone said tits?
And so I am proved correct.
If it helps with this whole explanation, the whole phrase athletic tits has kind of become part of my marketing strategy. And believe it or not, it has turned heads.
There you go.
That's what you want.
Danielle Johnston, face palms, men. Yeah. Yeah, it's
no lie detected.
One way to get us to pay attention. Like, well, there's a couple other ways, but we won't get into that right now. The ultimate kahuna for $2. Royce, it's too late. I already did a reading of it. Yeah, but I didn't. I could still do it.
He did it first, though.
Yeah, but Otter said I could do it. I don't give a
You
damn.
can do it.
He did it first, though.
But Otter said I could do it.
Yeah. Guna said he did it first, but I was still allowed to do it. They're like, yeah, that's fine. What are you bitching about? Oh, God.
He just wanted you to know that it was sloppy seconds.
Jesus. Maji-chan for $5 says, congratulations, Lord Otter. Can't stay, but all your hard work has paid off. Smash some clams in celebration, Maji-chan. For the love of God.
Phrasing.
I saw people react to that super chat. They're like, Maji phrasing. And she's like, Otters eat clams.
I'll go ahead and say this to Maji because I know for a fact she's pretty far along working on her own novel.
Let's see.
Where she is now, everything I've heard, that was me about a year or so ago. I know exactly where she is. And my advice to her is just stick with it. Listen to the criticism, learn
I'm
what's
hearing
good
things.
and what you can use to make it better, and just push forward with it. You will get to the other side.
No, and she really does. From everything that I'm hearing, she's sent me a couple of paragraphs here and there. Like she's onto something. I really think that she's, and I
Don't worry, we're working on it.
I know. I still think it's so fucking hilarious that it was born from a meme just to meme me, and now it sounds like it's turning into this really fantastic, epic story.
We've got a whole anthology going.
God fucking bless it, you guys.
It will be when it's ready.
I'm finishing mine up as we speak.
I swear to all holy hell, if you guys don't keep this thing completely fucking secret from me, and you just plop it in on the CSW stream, like, oh yeah, no, we're working on it. So shut up, Daniel. Making eyebrows dancing and shit. Danielle Johnston became a new member of the channel. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's awesome.
That's my friend.
See, they said the game with you.
Mm-hmm.
Ram for
Ram!
$2. Got paid today, so here's $2. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Mario Trujillo. Let's be real, Royce. Most people are 5th grade. Fuck. Yeah. 5th grade from today or 5th grade from 20 years ago? That's a different. Don't get me started.
Yeah, degradation of education, 5th grade today. Yeah.
Yup. Danielle Johnston for $10. My husband just said to Daniel, "What? You mean Dune?" Laughs. Explain to the commenter on the panel.
I don't know. I like Dune.
I like Dune.
I've heard of it.
There's no context to that comment, but it better not have been derogatory.
I believe I was talking about language when that one dropped.
Oh yeah.
I was yelling about language and just you were talking about needing a dictionary.
Yes. Yeah, that would be correct. And it's one of the reasons why I love Dune.
Dune has a whole appendix in the back just for everything it introduces.
Not just that, but the actual language in the book, the way things are described and written, and it's, for lack of a better term, rather highbrow.
Yeah. And that's even ignoring the whole ecology of Arrakis itself, which is a major, major part.
And well, here's the thing: is everybody's like, oh, but the higher language, it doesn't sell. I mean, dude, Tolkien, like modern fairy story or modern fantasy, came back because of that guy, and he has some of the most well-written high language out there. Oh, and by the way, it comes from him being a fucking philologist, which is something we don't even teach anymore. It's been broken down into like 5 different sub disciplines that don't add up to the whole.
Been replaced by Hip Hop 101.
I hate. People are like, "What's philology?" My brain hurts. My brain hurts thinking about people sometimes. They bother me.
You and me both, brother.
Dude.
But that's why I drink on Fridays.
That's why I drink on Fridays. That's why I drink a lot.
I need a drink.
A lot. What do otters drink? What does that otter drink?
Well, this otter drinks some alcohol.
Yeah,
At least some.
Well, I probably shouldn't say yes. I probably shouldn't.
This otter should get some writer's tears.
This otter is buying it as we speak.
Yes. Good otter.
Good otter. Oh, Mario Trujillo for $5, man. Thank you so much. Royce be like, "Here, my child, this word book is how you quit Why did you spell it like that? How you quiet the voices in your head. Oh, I think he meant
Quiet the voices.
He meant quiet,
Yeah.
but the E and the T got flipped. Okay, fast typing. I got it. Quiet the voices in your head. But yeah, some people are just dumb, Royce. God bless.
Not wrong.
Well, yeah. And you don't quiet the voices in your head. That's the wrong way to do it.
Royce actively talks to them, and it's crazy.
Don't actively talk to them. You have to learn binary processing. You have to let them do their own thing in the background while you have foreground thoughts. It took years to figure that out. But once you do, it's really cool. That's why I can rant so long.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's why I think ADD has been completely misdiagnosed. I actually think that ADD was actually a way for the human brain to keep up with the rapid advance in technology. I actually think it was part of the neurological evolution of the brain in real time. And instead of actually nurturing it and fostering it, we fucking sold a shit ton of drugs to a bunch of people and ruined their fucking lives. And are trying to still, stall human evolution, which pisses me the fuck off.
Expand on that.
Huh?
Expand on that.
What?
It pisses you off.
Later.
What pisses you off, Royce?
Lots of things. So stunning. So brave. Who the fuck are you calling stunning and brave, AC Pritchard? F autocorrect. Yeah, autocorrect is gay. No. No, I
It's at least bi-curious.
Yeah. I mean, no, not gonna get into the federal education system. I was so close. Dude, man, some of the biggest drug peddlers on the planet are fucking teachers. I'm sorry, they are. And I can't stand them. Oh, your kid's disruptive in class, huh? Maybe you're just not fucking interesting enough. Have you ever thought about that? Well, I have a degree. What do you have a fucking degree in? History, science, math, teaching?
Lesbian dance theory.
That would be better than the shit. They literally get a degree in fucking teaching. Teaching what? What are you an expert in? Nothing. You are an expert in being told what to fucking vomit and regurgitate out of your mouth from the fucking state. History teachers don't know fucking history anymore.
And how to write the same thing over and over and over again.
It. Yeah, next time ask the teachers, do you have a degree in history? Well, no, but I really liked it. And they get the fuck out of here. God. Fuck, man. Do
you feel better now?
No, because I have super chats to read and I still want to rant this.
Are you sure?
You got time, get after it.
A little bit. Just a little.
You've got time, get after it.
This system that has been crafted over and here's the fucking weird part, right? So we're a homeschool family and people look at you when a homeschool family, well, homeschooling, well, that's a little odd. No, it's not. It's how we fucking taught our kids for millennia. The odd thing is this crazy system that we developed that at the point of a fucking gun in some states, you have to send your children to fucking strangers and in some bad cases, potential molesters to go have them fucking learn something and be taken away from their fucking homes and indoctrinated into a state education. That's actually the new concept. Believe it or not. But the weird one where, oh no, you keep your kids at home and you nurture them and you care for them your fucking selves. Yeah, that's the actual way that we've been doing it. That was the actual time-tested and true one. And it's no wonder innovation, it's no wonder creativity and art, it's no wonder fucking AI is taking over because we have raised a generation of absolute belligerent fucking morons that can't do anything creative because they've been so fucking drugged up. Jesus.
How is that?
Does that help?
Dude, I did not think I was going to get there tonight and just something fucking set me off, man. It bothers me so. There's so much that fucking bothers me about what's been said. Yeah, you've been egging it on for the last hour and a half. Fuck. It just, dude, that shit irritates the hell out of me.
It's not often I get an opportunity to, poke the bear until the bear freaks out.
I'm so happy I'm here right now.
So happy I'm here. I try not to rant on this stream much anymore, because if I get there on Sunday Coffee, I rant. I actually started blowing out my voice a lot, but no, shit just bothers me. Shit, Danielle's like, dude, breathe. Danielle, believe it or not, this is my natural state of fucking being.
Mm-hmm.
There are some people who actually think that I do that just for the fun of YouTube. No, I am actually literally just that fucking passionate. I have that level of energy.
Yep. Every now and then, after stream, we'll wind him up and let him go.
It's true. They've you guys. Yeah. You still need to breathe. Yeah. I'm a singer. I actually know how to breathe. I actually know how to breathe out through the diaphragm, which is why I can rant as long as I can on a single breath.
It's impressive, isn't it?
Yeah. Breathe out. Push your. Simple breathing technique for everybody. You take your hands, you point your fingers forward, put them on your rib cage, and push your hands apart with your breath, as if, like, literally expand your hands apart as if your rib cage is like an accordion and your hands go apart, and that'll actually help you with breath control. Soprano, mezzo, soprano. Holy shit. I am not there. I got gifted with the lovely baritone, so all of my basses and my fucking tenors had to be actually worked for. Ram for $2.
Ram
Says Billy Bobsack is gay. That is all I wanted to say.
That is factually true.
that is factually true. And morally true.
and now confirmed.
Oh god. Tim Allen for $2. Mead. That is all. Yes.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you so much, man.
Thanks for the mead.
Yes. Like I said, I need to try a good one. I actually need to get a good one.
It's going to be my Christmas present to me.
I feel like if you want a really good way to like cheat me in the favor of mead, anything with like blackberry, generally, because I know some meads can have various different flavors. But the one that I had, it was a honey one, and it was, it was way too sweet. So, but no, I feel like anything like with blackberry, that will cheat me in the favor of being like, oh, this is really good, and it'll introduce me to other stuff. So, the ultimate kahuna for $2. Woo! Otter So Brave, coming out as a fur got on stream.
I'm sorry, I was too busy smashing clams. What was it again?
I'm not saying that again. I have to be very delicate with how that is phrased on stream.
Phrasing is everything.
Phrasing is everything. I like this chat. Maria Hargis-Hart up in Rumble. He says, yeah, math teachers do not know math. Yeah. Yep.
That's correct.
Yep. Oh, man.
What we know how to do is repeat the same phrase over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, like it just baffles me, man. It baffles me, some things that, like, the things that we're told have been normalized have literally only been in place for about 100 years. And
that is a long time.
No, it's not. It is a blip on the radar next to the history of mankind.
Yeah, but you're thinking too broadly.
I am not. You're a fucking
You
writer.
are.
Don't talk to me. I'm thinking too broadly. You create worlds.
In 100 years, a lot of things can happen in a new world that I create. And that's the point.
There's also a lot of repetition in ideas.
I know. I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm saying a lot of it's retarded.
Mm.
Almost like it was all planned. Garham to goddamn. All right. No.
Well played, Garham. Well played.
You got your Royce.
Let's not get into the Rockefellers tonight. Anyway, Lord Otter. Sir, you have a book. You've got a Twitter. You've got a Substack. You've got all kinds of places. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, so in the event I haven't told you yet, I have a book out. It's called The Curse of the Star Raids, the first entry in Steel and Stormbright.
We should talk about that sometime, man. That sounds like a really good thing to talk about.
Yeah, we'll set it up one day.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
set it up.
On a stream where Royce doesn't rant for 2 hours.
I didn't fucking rant for 2 hours. So that one actually.
Then what have we talked about this whole time?
I don't know. Athletic tits. I heard about that.
Athletic
yeah.
tits and smashing clams, I think.
I regret nothing.
I regret nothing.
Billy Bobsack, you're welcome.
I also have a blog page on Substack where I do reviews, short stories, and the occasional opinion piece. That's downstreampulp.substack.com.
Yes, and you can find all of the Otter's links in the description of this live stream. So hopefully you guys, dude, that rant light. What the fuck? Yeah, that was actually a pretty lightweight rant. I only did 2 minutes on that one.
Yeah,
But
your
yes.
face didn't even turn red.
I did get a little lightheaded on that one though. I was going a little hard there at the end.
Mhm.
Well,
Next time I'll bring up Legend of Korra.
no, we're not going to do that. No, that was. I don't want to. No, I don't like to rant on
That only works if Literature Devil is here.
Yeah, that was. God, that was a bad stream. That was a bad stream. So much happened. And you wonder why I told you to breathe, Royce. I know exactly why you told me to breathe. I just, sometimes. Stay based. What's going on? You showed up here towards the end. Mr. Daniel P. Riley, good sir. What do you do? How you do? Where can people find you?
As usual, people can find me at whimsyland.org or on Twitter at Mr. DP Riley. And as many of you know, but some may not know, I currently have an active campaign on Fund My Comic for the special edition of my G Sedai comic issue #1.
I didn't
Color
know that. When
Pop.
did you do that?
Yeah, I believe I did that Black Friday.
Oh. Where the hell was I?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. Time and space.
Somewhere.
Warp gates.
Yeah.
and-
Somewhere.
Like,
I'm
who's the
fairly
team?
certain there's a record of you being somewhere Black
Somewhere.
Friday. Maybe hanging out with Hojo.
Right.
But yeah, the campaign is active. It will be running until the end of January. So that is 50 some days worth of time for you to spend some of that Christmas cash. If you are interested in the fantastic artwork that my artist Kevin has crafted of my moderately interesting words.
It looks great, dude. It looks
It
so
really
freaking
does.
good. Like the artwork is fucking killer, man. So
And I have variant covers by Josan and Jose Garcia. Both are just
I'm waiting.
I was
are they up
so
yet?
blown away. Yeah, they're up on the
Oh,
page.
shit, I didn't.
Yep.
Okay, all right. That's actually something we're gonna check out because I wanted to check those out last night, but they weren't there. I didn't realize that the variant covers were up yet.
The only one I haven't gotten back yet is Puji's, and it's a black and white with incredible detail, so it's going to take a little bit.
There we go. I'll extend this out. Just there we go. Yes. Oh,
Yep.
dude. Most look ball. God, Jose Garcia is
I know,
Man, I honestly actually can't pick.
right? It's freaking difficult to decide which one you like most.
This one has a lot more flow with the line work.
Oh yeah,
This one is like rigid and just strong. You know what
Mhm.
if that like damn.
I was really impressed. Jose Garcia, the posing for Curio, the posing for Gabriel there is just
I
beautiful.
believe it is the same Jose Garcia that did this little book here for Clownfish TV.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it is that very same Jose Garcia. So if you guys were like, "Whoa, who is Jose Garcia?" Only the guy that's working with Clownfish TV to do their Crimson Ren Volume 1 is awesome.
At Radtastical Core on Twitter.
Yes. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, with all of that being said, we did it. We did it. I'm not drunk. Damn it. You're not drunk. Wait, you're not drunk. That's rare.
Only 3 drinks tonight.
Oh. Gay. Mega super gay. Mega super gay. Ladies and gentlemen.
I was enjoying listening to the Otter speak.
See, Otter.
We did get a rant.
We did.
We did.
Yeah, you guys poked that one. Although I was just like, no, I'm done, and both of you guys are just. I can't even see the Otter, but I know the Otter slumped back in his chair, and he was like, no, you can keep going. I saw him slump in the chair, and I can't even see him.
That's pretty accurate.
Yeah,
I was
Otter's-
trying to summon the Chaos Flames for a while there.
There was just that one final moment. Then I'm like, oh yeah, this is rant mode. There we
This
go.
is Oh, you guys are just like poke. You bastards.
I have one last thing to say. Athletic tits. And buy the goat.
By the God, son of a bitch. But the whole damn stream without a goat.
You almost got him to agree, Otter. Well done.
Yeah. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, and tomorrow night we will be back with Star Shatter. We're going at 6 p.m. Central. We're going to get back into our epic sci-fi tabletop that is crafted in the world of Black Knights, Star Shatter. So join us there. Myself and Lord Otter will be back. So it's going to be great. Lord Otter plays an awesome character. I play a mediocre character. But be there tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central. And as always, tune in on Sundays for Sunday Coffee, where I read all of your comments. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, cheers, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.